and within America First, the America First movement, who do not trust the official story and don't trust the FBI investigation and don't trust Kash Patel. What we need to know is what happened to Charlie Kirk's body. Where is Charlie Kirk's body? And was there an autopsy? What do we know about the autopsy? What do we know about the ballistics report?
Max Blumenthal just shared the dark truth about the FBI's Charlie Kirk assassination narrative and explains in this clip why so many people still don't buy into it, or at least parts of it, and what that tells us about American politics today, the corruption of the deep state, and what Kash Patel has been doing to deflect from any kind of reasonable suspicion about this narrative in recent days. So let's get right into it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
What are we gonna ever find out what has happened to Charlie Kirk? Because it seems that he's fading away from the news, and just Candace Owen is talking about him, no one else.
Well, there's going to be a trial of Tyler Robinson, the alleged shooter. The trial so far, the judge has banned all filming and taping of the proceedings. And actually, there's now a petition by friends and supporters of Charlie Kirk to allow taping from inside the courtroom. I'm not sure what they think will come out of that, but TPUSA is officially supporting that. And additionally, there was a story in the New York Times yesterday which suggests that those who are trying to learn more about the FBI investigation and whether there was a second shooter, whether there was any foreign connection, whether there was anything to be suspicious about, other than, and whether there was any angle outside of the official story, which is that a disturbed young man who was angered by Charlie Kirk's anti-trans rhetoric shot him for political reasons, should be shamed. This article homed in on the director of counterintelligence in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. His name is Joe Kent. He works directly under Tulsi Gabbard. And the article was obviously inspired by leaks and comments on background from the FBI.
Yeah, Max is generally right about this. He's right about Turning Point USA's position to allow cameras into the courtroom for court proceedings. Whether or not this goes to trial, they want the cameras in the courtroom for the hearings leading up to that point, if it does. Included in this group and Turning Point USA is Erica Kirk. You know, say what you want about what that means about this case. And, you know, I think that transparency is the best for this kind of situation. This is the highest profile political assassination, arguably, since RFK or Martin Luther King. So the public being very skeptical about a lot of this narrative that the FBI has thrown out at us, you know, it would behoove them to show that. He's also right about Joe Kent. Joe Kent is one of Tulsi Gabbard's closest subordinates. This is covered in major publications like the New York Times and other legacy media establishment, in addition to dissident, you know, independent media sources showing how Joe Kent has approached the FBI and Kash Patel in particular with potential leads regarding foreign involvement in the Charlie Kirk assassination. Now, Kash Patel was open about, hey, we're going to explore all leads. We're going to entertain a lot of the theories and abnormalities people on the internet have been talking about and showing on this. But is he in this case? No. In fact, he seems completely dug in against it, being troubled that Kent had the gall to do this, believing that it would compromise his investigation. And instead of entertaining this, he wants to dig his heels in on the narrative they have. Maybe they have a case, whatever. We'll see. We'll see how the defense treats this. That's going to be very interesting. But, you know, if you're going to say that we're going to bring transparency to the deep state and investigate all angles, it doesn't seem like you're doing that, even when it comes from within the administration. So remember, the FBI covered up the Epstein files. Now they want this completely out the window.
Which was angry that Joe Kent had begun prying into the FBI's investigation, obviously on behalf of elements in the White House and within America First, the America First movement, who do not trust the official story and don't trust the FBI investigation and don't trust Kash Patel, who fumbled badly during the first 72 hours of the investigation and was responsible for various embarrassing displays about seeing Charlie Kirk in Valhalla. So Joe Kent was shamed in this article, painted as a crazed conspiracy theorist for simply seeking to vet the FBI's investigation from within a civilian position. And I think that's the kind of accountability that people who supported Donald Trump and supported Charlie Kirk probably want.
Yeah, remember, drain the swamp and bring transparency to deep state crimes and deep state conspiracies that affect us all, undermine our elected government, and undermine basic liberties. That was kind of the smoke screen they used to get elected, then eschewed that completely, especially under the Epstein cover-up. That's exactly right. Joe Kent, from within the administration, that's not even good enough now. You know, they can just dismiss all the people that they say are kooks out on the internet. But there's a guy internal that's very high ranking in the Department of National Intelligence, and he's going to bring these potentials to the FBI, to Kash Patel, and just be dismissed outright. That is how this administration handles business. It's exactly the same way in which they handled the Epstein story, by the way, just covering it up, calling it a hoax, saying it would compromise, you know, what information they have, etc. So, yeah, I'm with Max. I have a lot of misgivings about the FBI narrative for sure. They couldn't get their story straight. Max is right about that. In the first days, they bumbled upon, you know, stumbling upon how many times he switched clothing, had a difference of opinion when it came to the original statements regarding the disassembly or reassembly of the firearm, and then discarded that by the time of the indictment. So there is reason that people don't believe this narrative, hook, line, and sinker, and I think Max is bringing that out here.
But it threatens to unravel an official story which has been weaponized by the Trump administration and the broader conservative movement to further erode free speech in the US, to strip people of their visas for making tasteless comments about Charlie Kirk, for putting people in prison. There's actually a man who's been in prison for comments he made about Charlie Kirk online, and for generally ramping up the security state and enacting some kind of FBI COINTELPRO style operation against the left.
Yeah, actually, Max is right about this. This story wasn't covered very closely either, but there was a Tennessee man in my state jailed for a post he made about Charlie Kirk. I think he's been released now, but he was literally jailed for making a post about the Charlie Kirk case. I mean, this is what we've gotten to now, where it's not just critics of Israel that have their visas potentially revoked for that, but also for questioning the way in which the FBI is investigating a case. You can't even make that up. It's just the America in which we live now. The deep state remains supreme regardless of who gets elected. The deep state remains the same regardless of the names.
On the bogus grounds that Tyler Robinson was actually a member of the left, when if he was the lone shooter, was clearly a nihilist who was acting outside of any political movement's parameters. All right, sorry, Nima, before you finish this question, I forgot. I wanted to make one point about Charlie Kirk, and then we can come back to this question. What we need to know is what happened to Charlie Kirk's body. Where is Charlie Kirk's body? And was there an autopsy? What do we know about the autopsy? What do we know about the ballistics report? Where's the body buried? Is it buried? I mean, what's going on there? Because that's what we've heard nothing about. And I think it's the data that everybody deserves that could put all of the supposed conspiracy theories to rest. So I just wanted to put that point out there.
Yeah, I mean, interesting enough. Utah has a law that says you have to conduct an autopsy on the deceased. It's not clear that that hasn't been done when it comes to Charlie Kirk. It's not even that clear that he's been buried. There have been some media reports that he did have a private burial that wasn't attended by many people in various places. I can't confirm any of them, but there is some information about that on the internet. But in either case, to release the autopsy information, it would take consent from the family. It doesn't seem like that's given, so yeah, it would be pertinent to see if any ballistics could be done on this bullet that was supposedly stuck in Charlie Kirk's neck. The 30-06 bullet that went into his neck, somehow stuck there. I know people have debated that subject endlessly too, whether that's even possible or even fathomable. And I got to tell you, you know, I've talked to some people, some hunters that talk about this. Some of them can't believe that that's even remotely possible, that it wouldn't pierce completely through his neck, go out the back, which it didn't happen in this case. Even footage that people have shown kind of from the side, mostly from the back, don't seem to show that whatsoever. And then other people say, well, it's impossible to know unless you know the kind of bullet it is. Many different bullets are designed to do different things, and their experience leads them to believe that from hunting, you know, they've seen bullets do all sorts of things when striking flesh that they didn't initially expect when it comes to animals and things like that. I don't know. I don't have a strong position in that. I'm not an expert in that. But again, it behooves the FBI and the state to divulge this information to the public and the family if they want people to stop having, you know, conspiratorial thoughts that they don't like. And, you know, many of them at Turning Point USA have called us, you know, akin to, you know, being addicted to porn for wanting to seek the truth in this matter. But there are still lingering questions. You're not insane if you bring them up. And I mean, the mentality to paint you as an insane person for that without actually refuting some of the allegations, it just draws greater suspicion toward the FBI. And look, I don't really think this case is going to trial. If the defense can't deal with the accusations of the parents against this kid and the text messages, you know, he's going to go behind bars for life. Now, if they can, if they really think that, you know, these messages are fake or they are fake, they have access to the phone. They're going to have subpoena power to the actual phone, to the phone of Lance Twigg, who is the other recipient of the phone, to AT&T or Verizon or whoever his provider's records are to confirm that. That's very easily confirmed whether the texts are true or not. That's why I'm sorry. I mean, the texts do seem like in some ways they'd be written in a way to divulge every aspect of this crime. But if that's the case and they're falsified, this guy's going to walk. He can't be the patsy you say he is if the defense can just throw those out based on falsification. That's not a minor error. That would be a complete hit job by the FBI to frame this kid for something he didn't do in that scenario. So I don't think this is going to go to trial. I think the evidence is too insurmountable against him. Now, whether other people were involved, that's another question that I have. The George Zinn thing is still interesting to me, and not much has been reported or explored on that since he was released by police after he said, I tried to help, you know, distract so the real shooter could get out of the way. I mean, that's pretty interesting, and that's kind of just going by the wayside with a lot of people paying attention to things that I think are a little bit more minutia. Now, a lot of people have talked about the flights that happened recently, the potential military connections. Candace Owens has explored that and other things. But I think Max hits it right here when it comes to the distrust people have in the FBI narrative is of no fault other than the FBI. You know, if you're going to entrap people in schemes like January 6th and the Whitmer kidnapping plot, you're going to kill women and children in Waco and Ruby Ridge, you're going to ruin the life of Richard Jewell, you're going to wiretap Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and Malcolm X, you're going to try to get Martin Luther King to commit suicide, and you wonder why we're skeptical about your narratives and your ability to investigate cases like this. It's like, screw you, man. That's why. You have no one to blame but yourself and your criminal agency that needs to be abolished. It can't be reformed. It's not going to be steered in a better direction just if you get your favorite steward of it like Kash Patel, as we were told by much of Trump's support base. That's just the truth. But we'll see where this goes. We need more answers. Maybe some of it will come out in subsequent court releases, or if it goes to trial, they'll certainly bring this forward. There's a chance that, you know, the indictment talks about the parents talking to the authorities and saying that, you know, Charlie did it because, or I'm sorry, Tyler did it because Charlie Kirk spread too much hate. I mean, maybe, but also they say that the family was involved in identifying him in the surveillance footage, and he spoke to Tyler, and that's when he learned that he was involved. And there's potential that the family signed an affidavit in this effect before any charges were made. That's something also a lot of people aren't talking about. It'd be very hard for the defense to dismiss or counter in some way if that's being acknowledged. And if the Discord messages, some of which this guy released, were incriminating. He does essentially imply that he was involved in this murder in Discord releases. If you want to watch and learn more about that, the guy, YouTuber named Turkey Tom, released a new video on that. He got 3 leaked Discord server scripts sent to him and did a very keen analysis on all 3 of those. And, you know, what he presented was at least interesting and sheds more light on this. But we'll see where this goes. Let me know if you agree with Max on it. Let me know what questions you still have, what we need to know, and let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Dialogue Works. Nima's awesome interview, man. I really appreciate your work in this interview. And if you like this video, please consider becoming a YouTube member of mine. You can do that by clicking the join button below. If you do that, I'll give you access to all my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.